How you doing? I was just sitting here getting ready to send my Zippos off to Bradford, Pennsylvania, to Zippo's headquarters for repair. Yeah, there's still companies out there that make a product to last a lifetime and then some, and actually stand behind their product and will fix it, whether it's your fault or their fault. I like that. But I was just sitting here thinking, how convenient something like this is, and you ever stop to think about how hard it would be to make a fire without a lighter or a match? Right? So, and we have a tendency to take simple things like a lighter for granted in this day and age, and I just started asking the question, why? Why do we take things like this for granted? And what was the alternative to this? And just, I started looking at, when Zippos were invented, because I didn't know. And I determined that, just by going on the internet, just the beauty of having just about every question that you could ever think of asking answered inside of a minute. Zippo's been around since 1932, inspired by a company that was founded as a button manufacturing company in 1907. And then, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I went in and I gathered up some supplies to get this stuff shipped out. And I thought, well, what did they do before that? What's the history of the lighter? So I just kind of did another search, right? So I got some information here. Lighter was invented in 1816. That's not that long ago, a couple hundred years, by a German chemist. I got his name here, Johann Wolfgang de Bariner. It was called the Mariner's lamp, and it wasn't very convenient because you couldn't put it in your pocket. It was rather large. It was like a table lighter, and was really not a lighter as you would think of it today. It used platinum as the catalyst, kind of like a piezoelectric type starter. Used platinum as a catalyst to get the chemical reaction started, and it used a highly explosive hydrogen as a fuel. Probably not the best thing to stick around your face to light your cigar. I'm just saying. But yeah, most people, it was kind of the way the rich people lit their cigars. Most people stuck to matches, which begged the next question to be answered. Well, how did the match come to be? So I let my fingers do the walking. And a match was developed in 1680. That's a long dang time ago. That's over 340 years ago? That's about 340 years ago. That's a long dang time. By an Irish physicist, Robert Boyle. And what he did is he took phosphorus and he put it on a piece of paper, and he took some abrasive and put it on another piece of paper, and by striking the two, kind of like the way paper matches are today. And then in 1827, John Walker, an English chemist, developed the strike anywhere match, and there was variations of different wood matches that you could strike. The safety match was invented around the same time in the early 1800s. He used white phosphorus. Turned out people got sick from using those matches because white phosphorus is toxic, and the history goes on and on. But the interesting thing to me is how convenient it is to have fire at our disposal. Think about this. But Bic lighters, they've been around for, 45 years or so? And I'm old enough to remember when Bics used to have an adjustable flame on them, and then somebody over-adjusted the flame and burnt their face, lighting their stogie. And they got sued, so away went the flame adjusters. And I actually witnessed that. That's how old I am. The adjustable flame lighter went away in the 80s, late 80s. And I actually witnessed a friend of mine lighting a cigarette and singed his peach fuzz off his lip because it flared up. So anyway, the thing about that, Bic lighters By their estimation, they make 1.5 billion lighters a year. That's a lot of dang lighters. But what would have happened if all of a sudden things like that weren't available? Or a government, let's say, decided that you weren't capable of handling the responsibility of having a Bic lighter in your possession, or heaven forbid someone used a Bic lighter to harm or injure a multitude of people. It could happen. Think about how innocuous a box cutter is. "19 lunatics managed to hijack 4 planes with nothing more than box cutters." So, but think about that for a minute. What happens if all of a sudden S does hit the fan and Bic lighters aren't available? There's a run on them. No, they're not manufacturing them anymore. And now all of a sudden, you got to make a fire. We take the ability to make a fire for granted. And if you didn't have this, or Bic, or matches, could you make a fire? Something to think about. I was digging through my junk drawer and I found my old lighters. I don't smoke anymore, so I don't need to carry a lighter anymore. Or do I? There's plenty of times where I wish I'd had a match. A few videos ago when I introduced you to Roscoe, and if you want to know who Roscoe is, go back in my archives, and I think it's titled "Let Me Introduce My Little Friend." I didn't have a lighter with me. I was lighting Roscoe with the lighter out of my car. And I don't think lighters are an option now. They're no longer called lighters, they're called power ports. Yeah. So it's something to think about. What would you do if you didn't have the ability to strike a match or flick a Bic? How would you get a fire started? That's something to think about, because your life might depend on your ability to make a fire. Welcome to my world. This is the kind of things that I think about when I'm sitting around boxing up a Zippo lighter to send back to the manufacturer so they can fix it up all nice and pretty for me. Always stay curious. Always ask why. Because you can. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So until next time, rate, comment, go ahead and click down there and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And you have yourself a splendid day. Now I'm going to get this off to Pennsylvania. Bye.